numbers any Filipino athlete has ever put together at Wimbledon. She stunned defending champion Iga Swiatek 7-6 in a first-set tiebreak, saving the set point at 5-6, then dominated the second 6-2 to reach the fourth round. Then came Washington, the DC Open. She defeated Zhang Chunwen, Leylah Fernandez, Alina Svitolina, Naomi Osaka in the semifinal, and then Jessica Pegula in the final after coming back from a set down, winning 4-6, 6-4, 6-0 to become the first Filipina in history to win a WTA Tour singles title. Her record against top 10 opponents during that run: 7 wins, 2 losses. She climbed to a career-high ranking of world number 18. In Toronto, she won 3 matches before falling to Belinda Bencic. In Cincinnati, she pushed Annette Kontaveit to 3 sets before losing 6-4, 4-6, 6-2 after leading by a break in the third. This was not the same player Jovic had beaten on clay in Paris. This was not the same player who looked hesitant at Queens. This was someone discovering entirely new gears, week after week, month after month. And yet, Jovic had twice seen everything Eala could produce and calmly found the answer. So, when they walked out under the lights of Arthur Ashe, this is what was really at stake. Not a trophy, not ranking points. The psychological question of whether those previous results were still true. Eala had also brought a crowd with her that New York had never quite seen before. Washington had transformed its stadium into something resembling a Philippine province during the DC Open final. Toronto produced similar scenes. Cincinnati organizers were forced to move one of her matches to a larger court after underestimating the demand. Now, she was in New York, home to one of the largest Filipino diaspora communities in the United States, inside the biggest tennis stadium on earth, with every ticket gone before a single ball was hit. The emotional center of gravity belonged to Eala from the moment both players walked through the tunnel. Jovic would have felt it. That atmosphere is not neutral. It doesn't tell you to lose, but it tells you, in every possible way, whose building this is tonight. The early games reflected the tension underneath the occasion. Careful exchanges, controlled serving, comfortable holds on both sides. But underneath that composed surface, something more interesting was already taking shape. Eala's return game, the weapon that had defined her 2026 season, the same weapon that had pressured Swiatek at Wimbledon and Pegula in Washington, was operating at full capacity. She was reading Jovic's serve early, positioning aggressively inside the baseline, forcing Jovic to play an extra ball on almost every service point. It looked completely different from Roland Garros, where Jovic had used her serve as a launching pad for clean winners. Different again from Queens, where Eala had appeared more hesitant to commit. Here, she was crowding the baseline, taking time away, making Jovic uncomfortable before the point had barely started. Jovic responded the way a top 15-player responds, by raising her own level, finding sharp angles with her ground strokes, forcing Eala to cover more of the court laterally. The set stayed on serve. The tension inside the stadium continued building because the crowd could sense what was happening. This wasn't a warm-up anymore. 6-all. Tiebreak that INA one-set format. The tiebreak is the entire match compressed into a handful of points. 1 double fault, 1 ambitious forehand, catching the tape, 1 lapse in concentration, and the night is over. Eala created an early mini-break advantage. Jovic clawed her way back immediately. The points became faster, more aggressive, more physical. The crowd responded to every winner and every net core with the volume of a Grand Slam quarterfinal. Then the score reached 7-7, and at 7-7, with everything potentially decided by the next 2 points, Jovic constructed a rally that lasted 20 shots, 20 shots, in a tiebreak, during an exhibition, with 23,000 people watching. The rally crossed the full width and depth of the court. Extraordinary defensive retrievals, sudden offensive redirections that completely changed the geometry of the exchange, and the kind of sustained intensity that reveals what 2 elite competitors genuinely think of each other. You don't chase down a running forehand from 3 feet behind a baseline at 7-7 against someone whose game you believe you've already solved. You don't sustain 20 shots in a tiebreak against someone you don't fully respect. Both players were saying something through that rally that words could never quite express. Eala won the point, then won the next one, and suddenly the tiebreak was over. The set was over, and more than 23,000 people inside Arthur Ashe Stadium reacted like a championship had just been decided. Technically, nothing official had changed. No ranking points moved. No records were updated. But something else shifted. The kind of thing that doesn't show up in any database, yet lives in the body of every competitor who has ever experienced it. Eala now had the memory of beating Jovic in the most pressurized exchange of any match they'd ever played. Before that night, both of their official meetings had ended without a deciding set and without a tiebreak, leaving Eala without a single experience of standing at a critical moment against Jovic and coming out on top. That absence had been a quiet, psychological gap. She'd never been in a fire with her and come through the other side. Now she had. The fans who had traveled from New Jersey, Connecticut, Virginia, and the boroughs of New York were not celebrating a meaningless exhibition result. They were celebrating visible proof that a player they had invested enormous emotional energy in through every late-night live stream, every flight to another tournament city, every group chat message shared across time zones, was still growing, still adapting, still finding new answers to the questions the tour keeps asking. Jovic handled it the way an experienced player handles a tight loss that doesn't change the overall picture. She smiled at Eala at the net, waved at the crowd, and didn't treat it as a crisis. She's too good and too confident for that, and she had reason to hold her belief. Clay court, grass court, balls striking across multiple surfaces. Her evidence was real. It didn't disappear because of one tiebreak. But then the U.S. Open draw was released that same day. Eala and Jovic were placed in the same quarter. If both players won their first two matches, they would meet in the third round. A real Grand Slam match. Ranking points pressure, a place in the second week on the line. And both players would carry into that potential collision the physical memory of what had happened the night before. That changes the texture of a matchup in ways that statistics cannot capture. Jovic can still believe she is the stronger clay court player, the stronger grass court player, perhaps the cleaner ball striker across certain conditions. She has the evidence. But she now knows something she didn't know before, that Eala in August on hard court in New York with that crowd is a fundamentally different proposition from Eala in May on Parisian clay or in June on London grass. The surface matters. The timing matters. The confidence that comes from winning a WTA Tour title and defeating a defending Grand Slam champion matters. And Eala would carry something into any third-round collision that she simply hadn't possessed in either previous meeting. The memory of winning the point when it was hardest to win. What started as a charity showcase under the lights of the biggest stadium in tennis ended as something neither player could simply set aside. Not in the rankings, not in the record books, not in any official statistic, but in the place where competition actually lives. The space between what you've already done and what you now believe you can do. Alex Eala expanded that space on a Wednesday night in August, inside a building full of people who had waited a very long time to see her do exactly that.